Have you ever found yourself constantly giving to people who, in the end, only leave you feeling empty and exhausted? Maybe you've poured your time, energy, and heart into helping someone only to realize, after months or even years, that nothing ever really changes. The truth is, not everyone is meant to be helped. There are clear warning signs. Certain types of people you're better off keeping at a distance, not because you lack compassion, but because you value your own peace and self-respect. There's a fine line between being a blessing in someone's life and becoming an enabler or even a victim of their patterns. If you're not careful, you can become a magnet for manipulation, exploitation, and emotional burnout, especially from people who have no real intention of changing. As Carl Jung wisely said, true help doesn't come from pity, but from understanding. In this text, we'll explore 7 types of people you should think twice about helping. These aren't just opinions, they're hard-earned lessons that can protect your mental health and preserve your sense of purpose. Many of us feel guilty when we have to say no. We're taught that helping is always good, that self-sacrifice is noble. But what if I told you that helping the wrong people can actually destroy your sense of meaning and drain the very life out of you? Some people aren't looking for help, they're looking for someone to carry their burdens, while they continue living exactly as they always have. They don't want your wisdom, they want your strength. Even the wisest and most compassionate people in history didn't help everyone. They knew when to draw the line, when to stop casting pearls before those who would never value them. If even the most loving souls set boundaries, why do we struggle so much to do the same? Let's look at the 7 types of people you should be cautious about helping. 1. The chronically lazy and passive. Read this with an open mind and heart. There's a big difference between someone who's struggling and someone who simply refuses to try. Laziness isn't a weakness, it's a choice, a habit, and ultimately a form of self-sabotage. If someone refuses to work, never puts in effort, and avoids responsibility, they're not suffering from injustice, they're facing the consequences of their own neglect. If a person always has time for entertainment but never for effort, that's not a crisis, it's a pattern. As Jung said, no one becomes enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The darkness of laziness is something each person must face for themselves. You can't do it for them. If you're always rescuing a lazy person from their own messes, you're not helping, you're interfering with the natural consequences that might finally push them to change. Some people confuse helping with enabling. If you keep covering for someone who avoids responsibility, you're not being kind, you're actually making things worse. There's a difference between someone who can't work and someone who won't. If someone has opportunities but ignores them, that's not your battle. Maybe you give money, time, or energy, but the more you give, the less they do. That's a burden you don't have to carry. Draw a boundary. Sometimes the best thing you can do is let someone learn their own lessons, lessons you can't learn for them. Signs of true passivity. Always has excuses, never a plan. Expects help but puts in no effort. Has opportunities but regularly rejects them. Wastes resources. Only shows up in a crisis but never changes. Setting boundaries isn't a lack of compassion. Some people only move when life shakes them awake. It's not your job to carry the consequences of other people's choices. And if you're the one avoiding responsibility, it's never too late to change. Every transformation starts with facing the truth. 2. The ungrateful. There are people who take your sacrifices, your love, your time, and your effort, and act as if it's all owed to them.
Ingratitude isn't just bad manners, it's a sign of a warped heart. Gratitude is a sign of humility and an acknowledgement of others' efforts. Its absence often reveals greed, arrogance, and selfishness. Imagine this: 10 people receive help, but only one comes back to say, "Thank you." That one person understands the value of what they received. The other 9 do not. Where are all the people you helped who disappeared without a word? Where are those you gave your best to who acted like it was nothing special? Ingratitude isn't a small thing. It's a trait of people who believe everything is owed to them and that they owe nothing in return. The worst part, the more you give, the less they appreciate it. The more you try, the more they demand. People who don't know how to say thank you are often the same ones who turn against you when you can no longer help them.
Have you ever helped someone only for them to forget you the moment they got what they wanted? That's a silent wound many of us carry. Some of us are exhausted from trying to please people who don't even see our effort. But you need to know you weren't born to be someone's doormat. If you gave someone your best and got only silence, contempt, or disrespect in return, that's not a person you should keep investing in. Help without gratitude becomes empty. Gratitude opens doors. If you truly appreciate what you have, life gives you more. If you don't, you lose it. Some people aren't stuck because their circumstances are so hard, but because they never recognize the value of what they already have. As Jung said, what we do not make conscious appears in our lives as fate. The same goes for gratitude. If we don't consciously cultivate it, we remain empty inside. If you want to live in abundance, be grateful. And if you want to help wisely, stop helping the ungrateful. They must learn to appreciate what they have before they lose it. What isn't honored is lost.
3. The proud and arrogant. This warning isn't against them, but for your own protection. Pride and arrogance are like walls. They block advice, help, and change. Some people are so convinced of their own greatness that there's no room left for growth. It's not about knowledge, but about attitude. I know everything. These people reject every attempt to help. If you give advice, they mock you. If you show compassion, they see you as weak. If you try to guide them, they take it as an insult. Then you wonder why they fail. Pride doesn't just come before the fall, it causes it. If you try to help someone who doesn't even believe they need help, you're wasting your strength. These people aren't looking for a way forward, they're looking for confirmation of their illusions. There's a difference between self-confidence and arrogance. Self-confidence comes from inner strength and meaning. Arrogance comes from the belief that everything is achieved alone. One says, "I can do this because I believe in myself." The other says, "I need no one. I am everything by myself."
Arrogance often leads to lost relationships, lost opportunities, and sometimes even a loss of meaning. Many great people have fallen because they forgot that gratitude and humility are essential for growth. History is full of examples, from powerful leaders who lost everything to ordinary people who ignored every warning. When you see someone who refuses advice, mocks your words, and claims to know everything, realize it's not your job to change them. You're not here to save people who don't want help. You can try, but if they reject you, let go. As Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But understanding doesn't mean you have to endure someone else's arrogance. Be wise. Help when you see openness, and when you encounter a closed mind, let life do the teaching you cannot.
4. The malicious and corrupt. You often hear that everyone deserves love, and that's true, but that doesn't mean you have to support everyone. There's a big difference between loving and enabling. Love doesn't mean justifying bad behavior. Kindness doesn't mean tolerating injustice. Support doesn't mean promoting someone who deliberately causes harm. Malicious people don't want help. They want an audience. They don't seek a helping hand, they seek approval for their rebellion against what's right. They mock good advice, make fun of discipline, glorify destruction, and invite others to join them. If you try to change them, they often drag you into their game. That's the danger. If you help someone who is committed to doing harm, you become a participant. Even with the best intentions, you can end up supporting what destroys others. Some people do wrong not out of weakness, but out of conviction. They don't just choose evil, they defend it, celebrate it, and spread it. The most dangerous thing is that you don't always recognize them right away. Not all malicious people are openly aggressive. Some come with charm, a smile, and sweet words, but their intentions are twisted. Jung warned that evil often wears a seductive mask. He said, "The shadow wants to be realized, not improved." If you support something that harms others, even through silence, you contribute to that destruction.
That doesn't mean you should hate these people, but you must set boundaries. Don't be fooled by their apparent kindness. Look at their actions, not their words. Do they cause suffering? Do they repeat their mistakes without remorse? Do they try to pull you into their decisions? Helping such people is like pouring water into a leaky bucket, and worse, in the end, you get burned. You can pray for them, warn them, show them the way, but you must not carry them. You must not defend, protect, or sacrifice yourself for them while they continue to harm others. You are not their savior. Your responsibility is to stand for what is right, even when it's hard. Some people only learn when they feel the consequences of their actions. If you keep putting yourself between them and those consequences, you only hurt them more. 5. The unreasonable and stubborn. This isn't about intelligence, but about people who deliberately shut themselves off from wisdom. These people don't listen to advice, don't accept criticism, and always choose the same wrong path, even when a better one is right in front of them. They hear the truth and mock it. You give advice, but they think they know better. Experience shows them consequences, but they keep doing the same thing. They're like a child who touches a hot stove, gets burned, and still touches it again. Jung said, "What you resist persists." For these people, that persistence shows up as one crisis after another. You try to help, but your help is rejected, ignored, or mocked. In the end, you haven't helped them. You've only wasted your time and energy. Such a person will repeat the same mistakes, come back to you, cry, ask for help, and as soon as they're back on their feet, do exactly the same thing again. This isn't a mistake, it's a pattern. Don't try to save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Don't try to heal someone who won't admit they're hurt. It's not your job to carry someone who chooses to stay in the dark. Warning: if you stay tied too long to someone who rejects wisdom, you'll lose your own clarity. You'll start to doubt yourself, to wonder if you're crazy, because unreasonable people often have a louder ego than you have truth. So keep your distance. Let life do what your words cannot. Some lessons only come when someone hits rock bottom.
6. The dishonest and manipulative. There are people who don't ask for help because they truly need it, but because they know you're kind, open, and helpful. They don't come with honest intentions, they see you as an opportunity. They don't want support, just a way to get what they want, no matter how. Dishonesty isn't just lying, it's the conscious intention to deceive. Manipulation isn't a mistake, it's a strategy. If you help someone who repeatedly manipulates you, you're not giving them help, but a tool to keep using you. The danger is that manipulative people often seem harmless. They know exactly what to say, how to awaken your compassion, when to play the victim. Jung said the shadow often wears the mask of the victim because that's the easiest way to break through our defenses. The manipulator presents themselves as helpless, pitiable, and lost just to get what they want. A manipulative person uses your own feelings against you. If you hesitate to help, you feel guilty. If you say no, your conscience torments you. They bind you with invented stories, staged crises, and promises they never keep.
Typical signs. There's always some drama or excuse. They only show up when they need something. They expect your help as a given. If you refuse, you're the bad guy. They have a history of exploiting others. They make empty promises and never take responsibility. They pretend to be the victim, though they're often in control. If someone lies to you, exploits you, emotionally blackmails you, and uses your kindness against you, you owe them nothing. You don't need to prove your goodness to someone who abuses it. Draw a boundary. Break the cycle. If you sense someone is exploiting your helpfulness, step back. You're not a resource for everyone to use. You're not a tool. Help only those who are honest, whose words and actions match, who don't use your heart as a means to an end. Your energy, your help, your soul, they deserve respect. 7. Those who reject change. There's a difference between someone who's struggling and someone who refuses to change. Between someone who falls and gets back up and someone who sets up camp where they fell. Some people don't want help. They want validation. They don't seek advice, but justification. They don't want freedom, but pity. If you try to help such a person, all your words, effort, time, and resources fall into a void. Why? Because there's no will to change. The most tragic part is that you're trying to save someone whom life is trying to break. Not to destroy them, but to wake them up. And you put yourself in the way, becoming a shield and disrupting their learning process. Jung warned, if someone rejects the truth you show them, you're not helping them, you're only protecting their ego, and an ego only changes when it breaks. Some people don't suffer because of bad luck or others' fault. They are where they are because they stubbornly refuse to see the truth, face consequences, and change. If someone rejects all responsibility, blames others, shows no remorse, and acts like they know everything, you have nothing left to do there. Help, but in moderation.
Speak the truth, but don't chase anyone. Give chances, but not at the expense of your own peace. Draw your boundary, and if necessary, walk away. Some people only change when they've lost everything, when they've hit rock bottom, when they finally feel what it means to have no way out. Only then might they find within themselves what they've ignored their whole life. If you constantly try to protect someone from their consequences, you're not helping, you're only delaying their growth. What can you do? Wish them well, pray for them, offer advice when they're ready, but don't let yourself be drained. It's not your job to carry someone else's resistance to change. Your job is to protect your boundaries, your health, and your life's purpose. Maybe until now you've been helping the wrong people. Maybe you've given your time, love, money, and strength to those who didn't appreciate you, didn't change, and only drained you. Today is the moment to ask yourself a new question. Are you helping people who truly want help, or those who only exploit your kindness? There are countless people who want to grow, who listen, who fight, who are grateful. Direct your help toward them. When you give to the right ones, you'll see real change. When you plant seeds in good soil, fruit will grow. Be wise,
Be clear-sighted, and remember, if you can't succeed, then life and time will teach what your love could not.